Thank you guys all for coming. We're very excited to have our panelists today.
My name is Michael Negretti. I'm the old man on the panel. Graduated from UCSF in 1999, so back in the 1900s. And I first, after that, did a residency at the VA here in Martinez. Then did a residency back at Blue Shield of California when it was still in San Francisco. Then I actually went to work for CPHA for 12 years. And then did 10 years in higher education and administration. And now I'm self-employed. I do my own full-time executive coaching, leader development, team training offerings. That's a little bit about me.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Tashima. I am currently an ambulatory care pharmacy supervisor at Kaiser Permanente in Redwood City. And a little bit about me, I went to school, University of the Pacific, graduated in 2022, and I went on to do 2 residencies. The first was a PGY1 general practice at Kaiser Permanente San Francisco. PGY2 specialized in medication safety and pharmacy administration. And then right after graduating PGY2, I was able to go into this administrative role, and I'm very excited to be a supervisor. In other news, I'm also the CSHP New Practitioner Director, and it's so nice to see a couple of the New Practitioner Executive Committee here. And for the new practitioners in the room, please join, or at least join our mentorship program, which we'll talk about at the end of this programming. But very excited to be a panelist today.
Hi everyone, my name is Tony Nguyen. I'm a medical science liaison for AstraZeneca, and I support the asthma portfolio. I went to pharmacy school at UCSF over 10 years ago. At that time, I wasn't sure about if I was going to do residency, but I'm glad that I did. Did my residency at Kaiser Diablo, and that's where I stayed on as an AmCare pharmacist, rotating throughout the various service lines, including diabetes, dementia clinic, anticoagulation, and multiple sclerosis during my tenure there. After which I decided to transition into industry about 3 years ago. Started my first role in industry as a contract MSL, supporting Johnson & Johnson Cardiovascular, and now I'm with AstraZeneca.
Take early in your career that significantly contributed to your professional growth in the advancement in pharmacy.
I am a new practitioner, and I'm not too far out of pharmacy school. I did do a lot of things in pharmacy school to make sure I could set myself up for success. And part of it was being involved, being in different pharmacy organizations. I was actually in DSHP. I think I've been here for 5 years now, and I'm on the board of directors here too. So it's just showing you how much of an amazing community the local CSHP chapters are. I'm also involved in CPHA too, so having involvement in both of the pharmacy organizations really helped me expand my network and meet some super amazing pharmacists in the field that helped me to get where I am. I think I also did a lot of just extra work in different practice settings, inpatient, outpatient, not just AmCare, to really get a broader scope of what pharmacy means to me and where I want to fit into it. Another thing is just thinking about, did I want to do a PGY2? Right now would be the time if you're a PGY1 resident to think about it, if that's what I want to do. Because 1 year of residency is equivalent to like 3 years of practice. You can go straight into an AmCare position. But if you do that second year, you can go into an administrative role if that's something you're interested in. So talk to people, see what you're interested in, and find what your next step will be after residency.
What I think what really worked out well for me was just keeping an open mind. When I was going through pharmacy school, I was promised a supervisor position at CVS Pharmacy, and that was going to be what I was going to do after I graduated. However, during my 4th year of pharmacy school, when I was doing rotations, I had a mentor, really encouraged me to try out for residency. And I'm glad that I did, because it opened up a lot of doors for me, and I found a very fulfilling career in Kaiser AmCare. And I actually thought I was going to stay with Kaiser for the rest of my life and retire there. But again, kept my doors open and worked with another mentor who encouraged me to try out for industry, because I had confided in this mentor that I felt like I was stagnating and wasn't learning as much. After 10 years there, doing the same thing over and over every single day. So my mentor had advised me to apply for the job that she was leading as an MSL, and did that. Looking back now, I'm glad that I took the steps that I did, even though I might not have clear directions. Like even now, I don't know what I'm going to do 5-10 years from now. But I do know that if I just trust the process and keep my doors open and keep my network healthy, that the right opportunities will come at the right time.
And I've always been driven, but not towards specific goals. Life changes, the world changes. They talk about a 5-year plan. Who knows what the world's going to look like in 5 years with AI and everything else. So rather than be goal-oriented, and I see a lot of people set goals and they get to a point where they're working for their goals even when the goals no longer work for them. They set a goal and they become a slave to that goal, not realizing that goal is no longer meeting their needs, what they want. So I think it's important to keep your options open. Get a sense of what it is you really want to do. What are you good at doing? What aligns with your strengths? What gives you a sense of meaning and purpose? Because there's going to be bad days. Life is a struggle. There's no happily ever after, right? The goal isn't to make the struggle go away. The goal is to find a struggle that's worth having. So choose a struggle that's worth having. What brings you joy in your life? What are you going to look forward to in your job? What's going to energize you and bring you, enliven you at the end of the day? And then thinking about your needs. Sure, there's financial needs, but what about your physical needs? Your sleep, diet, exercise. What about your emotional needs? Stress, anxiety. What about your social needs? They always say people don't quit their job, they quit their toxic boss or their toxic coworkers, their toxic work culture. So your social needs at work are important, and make sure your work isn't impeding your ability to develop strong and supportive relationships at home as well. But don't pigeonhole yourself into one particular track. Figure out what you need, dabble, try different things. You might like the idea of something, but until you actually do it and get into the process of doing it, you don't really know if you truly love it. So dabble, talk to people, network, have informational interviews. That's the way you're going to find your way. And it's an iterative, incremental process. If you think your career path is going to be linear, some people it is. Most people, like Tony, it's not. So I would just say keep your options open and try a lot of different stuff and meet a lot of people.
How do you guys maintain a healthy work-life balance in such a demanding profession? And what strategies would you recommend to new practitioners?
This is going to sound a little corny, but I just do a lot of practicing of gratitude. I have regular one-on-ones with my boss, and at the end of our one-on-ones, if we have time, which is half the time, I'll say to her, it would be great if we have some time to just dedicate to just verbalizing our gratitude. If you're spending 6 hours in a work environment that's toxic and you have a boss who doesn't support you and you feel like you're not productive or accomplishing things towards your goals, that can feel very heavy compared to like spending 10 hours amongst a very high functioning team where there's trust and there's, everyone has good intentions. That can make the time go by very quickly. So I think finding that work-life balance means finding a good balanced team and having a good network of people who support you and are genuinely interested in your success.
I'm probably the worst person to ask about work-life balance because I love pharmacy too much. Well, after I'm done with my work, then I'm usually on a meeting with maybe Mike or Veronica or Brigitte for DSHP or Contra Costa CPHA or something. But if I were to give advice to new practitioners, and I do this to my residents, I tell them, don't forget to sleep and eat and make sure you recharge. You find someone who you can confide in, who maybe they are a preceptor, maybe they're just another pharmacist there, but someone who you can trust in your workplace, who can be a safe space for you if something goes maybe not exactly as you planned, because like maybe there's a deadline that's coming up too soon. Communicate early. That's something I wish I did more of when I was a resident, and it would have saved me a lot of just headaches and troubles if you just communicate with someone.
I'm actually not a fan of the work-life balance phrase because sadly, most of us spend half of our waking life at work, right? Work is a huge part of our life. So you can talk about work, non-work balance, but I think it's a bit folly to talk about work-life balance because work is hopefully, it's such an important part of your life that, it makes it sound like we've got to marginalize it somehow. And I don't think that's necessarily what you should be trying to do. A lot of us think of balance as, in pharmacy, you put this over here and this over here, and eventually, it's the perfect balance. But I like to think of balance more as like you stand on one leg, right? Are you perfectly still? I know I'm not, right? There's a lot of micro movements, rebalancing. You go too far this way, you got to recorrect this way. To me, that's the idea of balance. It's an active process. It's constantly being aware of what you're doing, what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to. Is that working for you for now? And being clear on what you want, where you need to go, and then make adjustments in that process.
What recommendations or advice do you have regarding handling finances?
I have a story. Not long after I graduated pharmacy school, I was still my second residency, just got married. We were right here in Pleasant Hill. My wife and I are living in Walnut Creek, and we're like, they were just built the downtown Pleasant Hill area. They just constructed that. There's some really cool houses behind that, whatever used to be Albertsons there. Small little houses. And I'm like, we should buy a house. And my wife was like, we don't have enough money. It's like, we need to save more. I'm like, we can't save enough, right? The appreciation is going up faster than we can possibly save. And I said, we just got to get into the market. And she said, did I say her name was Beth? She says, if there was only a sign, if I could have a sign that this is something we should do, then we should do it. And if you drive down, is it Contra Costa Boulevard? There is a Beth Drive. I'm like, there's a sign with your name on it. That wasn't enough to convince her, right? But long story short, think about your spending in the long term. What's going to serve you long term? Talk to future you. You can get one of those apps that make you look old, but talk to future you and just say, future you, what should I do right now? With your wisdom, 20, 30 years of hindsight, what's the right thing to do? That'll give you a lot of perspective. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. There's a great little documentary on Netflix called Buy More, I think. Watch that. It's chilling to see how we're all being manipulated by the commercial industry to buy more, buy more, buy more, buy things that are disposable that aren't going to serve us well 10, 20, 30 years from now.
For those who are more on social media and they like to see these things in action, there's a couple of financial, gurus that I like. One is Your Financial Pharmacist. I think he does some sponsorships with APHA sometimes. Did one with Kaiser a couple of years ago, and he just gives you more insight specifically in pharmacy, PFLS, all of the student loan forgiveness, etc., and how that can play in. But if you want more generalized financial advice, I really like Call to Leap. It's this guy named Steve. He's like a self-made millionaire, former public school teacher. That's what he brands himself as. But he was able to become financially stable on a teacher's salary just because he was really careful of his finances. So some social media folks who I would recommend.
So looking back at the Tony 10 years ago, this guy was not financially literate. He was spending his paychecks on vacations, guitars, electronics, computers. But the Tony now, this Tony is debt-free, except for the mortgage, and he is on track with his retirement. And I think what I've learned over the past 10 years is I'm not good at finances, but I can rely on people who are. And that means I've spoken to 3 different financial advisors throughout my life, and a lot of different pharmacists who are very savvy in their finances. These are my best friends who are doing phenomenally well financially. Find people who are good at it and mimic and learn from them, because I think the pharmacist salary is just me being appreciative again. I'm very appreciative of the pharmacist salary, even in the Bay Area, and I think there are ways to strategize your outflows and your inflows so that you can achieve your financial goals if you're very intentional about it, and if you're very consistent with your habits.
It's important to have joy in your life, right? I don't want anybody that's like, oh, I gotta live like a monk in a cave and live off, porridge. Make time, make budget for joyful experiences. And I would emphasize experiences, not things. Invest your time to have fun, create memories with people that you love, with fun people, fun things to do, as opposed to a bunch of crap that you're gonna have to pay to store in a mini storage place somewhere. That's just crazy making, if you ask me.
I actually just wanted to put in a plug for you guys because annually DSHP has a dinner program with a financial advisor. It's actually going to be in September, so we'll be sending out the information, but it's a rare opportunity for not just only our members, but it's free for our members and their partners and spouses. So watch out for that. Get onto our distribution list, and it's a dinner program. So yeah.
And the younger you are when you can start saving, I'm going to tell you, as a guy in the 50s, that's so important. It's going to pay so many dividends for you when you're my age. So yeah, don't wait till you're 30 to start saving for retirement.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a new pharmacist, and how did you overcome them?
It's a challenge that I still have today. It's imposter syndrome. When I first got out of pharmacy school and I was just surrounded by excellence and people who are, operating at the top of the scope, it made me doubt myself. And it took years for me to overcome it. And then when I switched over to industry, I'm getting it again. So I'm kind of embracing it a little bit, because I think if you have imposter syndrome, that just means that you have high expectations of yourself. And I'm trying to utilize it as a way to drive me to reach my full potential. Went to pharmacy school and got a doctorate degree, and yet a lot of us are still doubting our abilities. But I think looking back in time now, like if I could tell myself, as a new practitioner again, just trust in the process. Things will come as they should in due time, as long as you just don't lose focus of your overall goals.
What I can say is I completely agree with what Tony's saying about imposter syndrome. But I think more importantly is, how do you transition from being a resident to being a pharmacist, and what does that transition look like? How do you titrate that essentially? So it's not like you're coming across as you're arrogant or something, but you're also not being too timid. And I think a lot of it is just listening and being receptive to feedback. As someone in management, I am overseeing people who have been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years. So I'm coming from a place of curiosity, wanting to learn, and being a support in their pharmacy careers, because that's really what I think a manager does best, just being there as a support system. So just coming from a place of wanting to learn more and wanting to be there to support.
Yeah, three things for me. Imposter syndrome, number one. First book recommendation that Allison Fergale, Likeable Badass is the name of the book. Likeable Badass. She's an organizational psychologist at Stanford. It's written for women, but the rules apply to men as well. But she talks about imposter syndrome, and I love how she says you need to reframe it. Imposter syndrome isn't a sign that you're not good enough. It's a sign that you have goals that are bigger than where you currently are, right? And I would say if you're not suffering from imposter syndrome in some way, that means you're not growing. So look at it as imposter syndrome as a sign that you're trying to improve yourself, you're trying to grow, you're trying to get better, number one. Number two, usually when you kind of unpeel imposter syndrome, it's a fear of failure, right? And I would say there's only three people that have fear of failure. People who don't stretch themselves, number one. People who lie, that I never fear failure, or maybe they're lying to themselves, or maybe they're just a narcissistic sociopath. Or three, people who, what was the third reason? I'm blanking on what the third reason is. It'll come to me. Long story short, it's once you realize maybe what you're grappling with is a fear of failure, then you can step back and get curious about that, right? Because we have this notion in our society, it's like we have to be confident, we have to charge forward, we cannot let failure be an option. Well, if you're not letting failure be an option, number one, you're either playing it too safe, or number two, you're gonna have blind spots. And you're gonna get smacked upside the head because something's that you're not anticipating is gonna come in and throw you off your track. So it's not to do things ignoring fear. It's not to do things in spite of fear. It's to do things in partnership with fear, right? Fear is adaptive. Fear says something is at risk. What's at risk? Is it really at risk? What can I do to be on the lookout for that risk and mitigate it should it show up? So I'd invite you to, number one, notice if you're feeling that. It's like, okay, there's a growth opportunity here, number one. Number two, what's really at risk? Is it really a risk? And what can I do to mitigate it if it starts to show up?
Well, on that note, please give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you guys so much.
Guys, we really appreciate you guys coming in and speaking to our DSHP team. I did want to plug in for our CSHP NPEC, so our new Practitioner Executive Committee has a mentor-mentee program. The deadline's been extended. Fortunately, the QR code isn't working, but if you guys are interested, please come see me or Samantha. We can take your email down and send you the link directly. But if you do feel like you benefited from listening to Tony, Samantha, and Mike, they're amazing mentors. Or if you feel like you have wisdom to give some of our new practitioners here, we recommend you signing up for the mentor-mentee program. So please see me or Samantha if you guys would like to sign up, and we're more than happy to send you the link. Thank you.